Here we are. A little bit of technical difficulty there. You can see DeRoir is back. And of course, we have some returning guests. So we've got Bloom, fan favorite.
Hello.
And of course, Lowry as well. Rounding out the roster. Talk a little bit about what's coming up in Guild Wars 2. Just from a different perspective, right? Last week, we had a lot of mega hardcore Guild Wars 2 players, right? All the Guild Wars 2 nerds were on board. But these gamers are going to bring something new to the table. Yeah, I'm super curious about this. I want to kind of dive into this a little bit here. So, what is it? What is it about a game like Lost Ark or Final Fantasy or World of Warcraft, all these other MMOs? What is grabbing you about these titles? And what's kind of missing from Guild Wars 2 that perhaps is not causing you to feel the same way about the game?
And the only like I'm playing WoW and Final Fantasy and trying to get into that new content because the new armor set looks cool.
Looks sick,
if it
right?
doesn't look cool, I actually don't care, and I just will not even do the content probably.
How do we feel about an open world challenge mode? So I only brought this up because in BDO there are world bosses, right? But there's a random chance of a world boss being like a super powered up version of it. How do we feel about, it doesn't have to be something like that, but like at a certain time where a boss would spawn, it would be a powered up version, you get more rewards.
Is raids still a conversation that we even have? Or
raids? We don't talk about that. Yeah.
Oh, no.
Missions.
Does he know?
He doesn't know. Hello, everyone. Here we are. A little bit of technical difficulty there. You can see DeRoir is back. Wow, I mean, that's honestly a TeaTime topic in of itself. He's back in business. Here he is, the vertical camera. That's how much he's changed. Not even on a PC at this point. On the phone. Listen to that crisp, beautiful audio quality as well. You're going to enjoy it. Welcome back. You know, DeRoir, of course, an old school TeaTime member, big gamer, 9 sets of legendary armor, fractal overlord. I mean, wow.
I
He's
got
back.
the whole thing, yeah.
Feels good. Back in business. And of course, we have some returning guests. So we've got Bloom, fan favorite.
Hello.
And of course, Lowry as well. Rounding out the roster to talk a little bit about what's coming up in Guild Wars 2. Just from a different perspective, right? Last week, we had a lot of mega hardcore Guild Wars 2 players, right? All the Guild Wars 2 nerds were on board. But these gamers are going to bring something new to the table. Of course, we have MMO experts, multiple MMOs. DeRoir is now a filthy casual as well, right? He plays on mobile. He probably thinks Guild Wars 2 is some kind of mobile game at this point, right? We all know what's going on.
What's it supposed to be?
Yeah, but anyway, welcome to the show, everyone. And yeah, I think a really good place to open this up, actually. I think, DeRoir, you actually had a bit of a question that you wanted to kind of drop on everyone. You know, you're a little bit out of the loop, potentially. You wanted to drop a bit of a question to start the discussion about what's going on in Guild Wars 2. So
yeah, that's really
take it
cool.
away. Take it away.
So I was kind of like, I entered the chat with all these guys, and I was like, I feel so out of the loop. Like I come, most of you guys probably don't know me at this point because I've been away for years now, it feels like. But I used to be the guy that kind of like felt like I knew it all. Like I was all over everything Guild Wars 2. I was there every day, pushing everything, going hard. And nowadays I'm just a filthy casual. And I kind of was like, so I mean, what's the vibe nowadays, like in the community? Like what does everything feel like? Like what's the discussion? And yeah, we kind of held off on the question just so that we could kind of share that moment with you guys, because I'm genuinely curious. I don't know what's happening.
So
go ahead.
Yeah, you can go. You can go.
Well, I was going to say, I feel like we had a lot of positive momentum after End of Dragons. I think it was a pretty well-received expansion. Season 1 re-return, that all coming back to the game, was kind of like mid. Like I think it was some people were excited for that, some weren't, because it's not brand new stuff, and that's been literally the last 12 months. But I think overall last year ArenaNet did a lot of balance patches, a lot of quality of life, and bringing season 1 back. So it was fine, and I think everyone was pretty excited. And then now we've got finally some brand new content coming up tomorrow or in 2 days. But I think
But I think
The sentiment,
if I may, just because like
yeah,
on the surface, like looking from the inside out, as someone who just like I've logged in, like I still log in most days to like just like run around, do a couple of
yeah,
things, and then kind of log out. I'm not really playing all that hard. I've really not touched the like season 1 stuff, but
yeah,
at this point, like there's just so much that actually seems like it's been coming out, and there's like we're looking at like expansion announcements and all kinds of other features that are being announced, and like looking from the outside in, it looks like shit's going on. Like it's kind
yeah,
of on fire, and like the game has been going good.
yeah.
Honestly, sometimes I've kind of felt myself like, oh damn, I wish I had the time to sit down and play, and like this feels all super cool and interesting, and I'm really just kind of envious of everyone that still gets to
Mhm.
play.
Yeah.
But and then I hear that there's like this
The
vibe of
doom.
doom, this
Dude,
cloud
God.
hanging over the whole community, and I'm like, I just don't really see where that's coming from. But then again, even back when I was like super active, that was, I mean, let's be real, that was kind of same thing that was happening back then. Lots of things were happening, announced expansion on the horizon, and it was kind of great, but everyone just kind of was feeling doomish still. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Has something really changed, or is it just more of, well, we
I
want
would
more because we always want more.
I would say it's the usual like Guild Wars 2 ebb and flow. We get this crazy like excitement spike when we have all this new content coming out, and then it just like plummets right before
The next
like when
one,
when we're in that void
yeah.
between like that new stuff and the next one, we're in that void where it's just kind of like we're all waiting for something, we're all waiting for some like information on what's coming next. We just got a lot of info on like the new expansion cycle and stuff, and maybe I'm jaded because I still like read the subreddit all the time despite not, playing a whole lot the last like couple months. But yeah, we're still, I think the sentiment is that we're still a little bit in the dark on what's coming next, and everyone was quite excited to have like, I think everyone was looking forward to a concrete plan and like some concrete info, some real like juicy meaty info on what we're getting next, and we kind of got really like vague, uh like a vague response to that. We're not really sure what we're getting in like 2 days, aside from the fact that there's like a new map and new story, and that's sort of the given. But we're kind of it's kind of mysterious at the moment, and that's a little scary, I think, for a lot of people.
So what you're saying is what's missing here for the upcoming patch is just more details. Like we used to
Yeah,
always get the like week before trailer, and that was
yeah,
great. But like, is that is that the only thing that's missing? Like, because it's
yeah.
still
We just
happening. Like, there's
yeah,
a whole new map,
exactly.
and like on the surface, it sounds great.
This
Yeah,
feels like Bitter Frost Frontier all over again.
Yeah,
I don't and
touche.
I don't know who was around when that happened, but that was kind of rough. Like we knew we were getting content, but like what? Okay, like what are we
yeah,
getting? Like what exactly are we getting? It's I worry, and I'm just gonna go full doom. I don't know what we're getting, and it's
Oh.
it's it's so frustrating to want to play more and want to see what's in store, but then like we're just not left in the dark, but like it's so ambiguous, it's so vague, and I just have no idea what we're supposed to get. Like you don't have to exactly tell us, but like give us something more concrete, please.
I totally get what Larry's saying. Like it's just if you're detached enough, I don't think it's that frustrating. But I think that if you're still like really in it and you really want to be excited for Guild Wars, it feels like a hard time to be really excited because we're getting like not. I want to be hyped for the game. I want to be really excited for this new content. I just have no idea what's coming, and then this is
Exactly.
in contrast to like other MMOs that I've been playing lately. If we're going to talk about like the comparisons and stuff, like we've got I play Destiny 2, and that expansion is coming
Oh
out
my god,
the
that
same
expansion.
day as this content update,
Ooh.
Yep.
and we've gotten so much info on what it is
Hmm.
that I've like blocked out that day. I've taken off work and stuff to make sure that I can like play through that day, because they've given us so much information. I know exactly what to expect, whereas I don't know if the next Guild Wars thing on Tuesday is like 1.5 hours of story content and that's it, or if there's like more to it.
Can we detour to Destiny 2 really quickly?
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely. We can go there.
so okay, so as Bloom said, we are getting the whole shebang with Lightfall, the whole thing. Like, we know exactly what we're getting. We're gonna know how we're getting it. We know pretty much. We know like 90% of everything that we're getting, and they laid it out. They laid it out in steps, and like we just know. And I just look forward to it because I know exactly what I want to do the day it comes out. Like Bloom, I'm staying up as well to just jam Lightfall as much as I can. And it's not that I don't want to play Guild Wars 2. I still go on the raid every Friday. Like, I love Guild Wars 2 so much, but I don't feel like the game wants me to play it.
I think, to be fair, as I understand, that we're talking about a Destiny expansion here, right? And
yes, Destiny 2 expansion, yes.
So this is a little bit, this is definitely a very significant thing compared to a Living World update. But I'm 100% with you here. I do think that ArenaNet typically don't handle expectations, or rather manage expectations for players super well. It's definitely a big area for improvement, especially now, right? Because I think you guys already said this, but we are in it's a bit of a leap of faith for the community, right? We have a brand new game director, a very different direction for the game in terms of the content release cycle and just the development cycle in general. We don't really know here. And I think people are a little bit scared because saying a new map, in some sense, that's not enough, because, you know, I think the Bitterfrost Frontier example is fantastic. What does that mean? Are we getting Domain of Corner? Are we getting Drizzlewood Coast, right? Are we getting Dragon Response missions, right? Like, it's a little bit spooky for sure. There is an element of uncertainty right now. However, I'm actually going to slightly be the white knight to ArenaNet here. I actually think that, and maybe this is cope, this might be cope, but I think ArenaNet recognized that there's so much uncertainty and so much worry in the community that realistically, I feel like anything they would say, I don't think it would actually help that much, right? Because in some sense, people have heard that one before, right? Like Guild Wars, how many times has Guild Wars 2 said we're restructuring to make our content release schedule like better or more consistent? They said it like 4 times, right? Like, it's really hard to come back from this position, in my opinion. I think the only way that ArenaNet can actually build this confidence, this certainty, is by delivering. I actually don't think that words will actually help them that much in this situation. So I don't blame them for not going hard on it. I think we might see like a release trailer, because there was like a release trailer on the day for EOD, right? And I think that maybe ArenaNet's going to try that and we might see a trailer. We might not. But in my opinion, I very much think that for ArenaNet, the proof is in the pudding. The way they're going to regain the trust of a lot of the veterans and a lot of people who are pretty invested into the game, right? And, you know, really want to play the game and enjoy the game. I think the way they do that is by delivering. I actually don't think that the words will actually help that much. Yeah, go ahead.
Question on as the casual player, what is when you say delivering, what are we talking about here? Like, what is the big ticket item that everyone's hoping for, everyone's wishing for, everyone's kind of like missing out on? Obviously, is raids still a conversation that we even have? Or
raids? We don't talk about that.
Yeah. Oh, no. Does he know?
He doesn't know.
Honestly, if we're talking about like a big ticket item currently in the game, it's either the Aurene Legendary Invariants or Skyscale, and that's it. In my opinion.
So that's the only thing that people are hoping for to
something big
like this patch, like.
Not necessarily hoping for it, like what we already have. In terms of things to look forward to, I don't know.
My bar is quite low. I actually, because I know what you're saying, Teapot, in that it's really hard to judge how this whole model is going to go until we get this first release and see how it is. But right now, as it stands, I basically just wanted a trailer to set those expectations, to show us, to literally show us what we're getting, just some of it, because at the moment I know that there's the variant and the map, but I want to know if there's like a new armor set for this new location, if there's a new weapon
if it's just
set.
like the map and the meta in the map, that's fine.
Yeah,
like
I feel like right now as it stands, I just want something, but I agree that like nothing's gonna really satisfy everyone until we actually play that new content, because it could be anything. So Yeah, we just have to wait and see, I guess. But for me, I'm not really expecting anything like game changing, to be honest. I'm not expecting like elite specs or like I know that there's no strike or we're not getting the fractal or whatever until like June probably. But I just want to know some more details just to like set your mind at ease, just for the week before. I was really expecting them to use that week after the announcement to like ramp up some excitement and like tease some stuff just to get the hype train going, but like nothing's happened. So like all my emotional bandwidth has been taken by like other MMOs that are showing me exactly what to expect, and then I'm just like waiting on ArenaNet to just show something.
Yeah, so I've been playing a lot of Black Desert lately, and what Black Desert does is they have a separate thing called Global Labs. It's kind of a test server. It's basically a test server, but in that Global Lab, it'll list what's going to change, when it's going to change, and what their plan is for the next Global Lab. Sometimes, and I'm not saying Guild Wars 2 has to have exactly that. But even if it's just like a drip feeding, hey, we're changing this week, and next week we're gonna try to do this or something like that. That would, it may not change the minds of like the Omega Doomers, but it's still something. Like I don't mind just giving me a little bit to look forward to.
And I know it sounds like lots of complaining, but like to Teapot's point, like I do think the Destiny 2 comparison is a little unfair because it's an expansion, but both World of Warcraft and Final Fantasy 14 and that sort of thing, even for their patch content, they hype it up. They show trailers. I know exactly what to expect with their patch content. And I thought that was the point of this whole like rejig of how updates and stuff work with Guild Wars 2. I thought they were trying to align themselves more with the other MMOs and like be able to market these quarterly updates better. But we've had no marketing for them. So like, what's going on, ArenaNet?
Yeah, zero marketing that I've seen. I was gonna. Well, my boss told me to like write something about Guild Wars 2. I was like, there's nothing to write about. Like, I did a little bit on the latest balance patch, but in terms of content stuff, there was I couldn't figure anything out. So I just had to drop it. Like, and that sucks. Like.
I mean, here's something interesting. We actually do have a direct clarification on that happening right now. This is a Reddit post from Grouch. Actually, it was about an hour ago here. And basically, this is, I'll just read it verbatim. We can kind of chat about this and talk about it. Over the years, we've experimented with both. One, releasing campaign assets in advance. So, in other words, a week before, so doing trailer and stuff before. And second, releasing a campaign material the day of the update. Trailer is the same time that the update drops. There are pros and cons to each approach, but when looking at the data, they are highly comparable in terms of how they drive player reactivation. For this update, the trailer, key art, blog post, and press coverage will drop on Tuesday, supported by Twitch drops. So yeah, as some players have already suspected, it actually does appear that that is the approach that Arena are going to be taking, potentially for the foreseeable future, when it comes to the marketing stuff there as well. So like, boom, hit them with Twitch drops, hit them at the same time. It's good to see Twitch drops come back, of course. I think they're very potent, right? Very effective, of course. But yeah, I do definitely think that kind of on a broader point on this, because I think we're almost skirting around the issue here a little bit. I think the big uncertainty that players are questioning is kind of like potentially like a little bit further in the future, right? And in some sense, that's a little bit unfair, but in other senses, you can understand why people might be worried about, say, the next expansion, right? Like there was the recent big roadmap, of course, talking about elite specializations maybe not being really a feature in future expansions, which is something that people are obviously very curious about. And I do think it's very important that ArenaNet do set expectations and communicate what's going on there. What does an expansion pack look like, right? What do these new combat systems look like, right? What give us an idea of the shape of what a new mastery might look like. Is it going to be comparable to mounts or gliding, right? I think these are kind of the high-level question that players are really interested in, and is kind of driving an element of the, I guess, the anxiety in the community a little bit, right? But yeah, I really do think you just got to get out there. You got to get in there and show it off and get in there. I think it's a very important time. I'm in some ways nervous for Tuesday, because I do think it's incredibly important. This patch is going to really set the tone, in my opinion, for like what is it going to look like? What does the future of Guild Wars 2 look like under this new structure, this new system? Because this, in a way, is going to be, regardless of if that's fair or not, this will be the template. This will be what sets those expectations. So I think Arena need to deliver here on Tuesday, but also I do think that they could do a bit of a better job of actually continuously communicating this. I think this is especially true, by the way, as they have such excellent kind of frontmen right now. I would say that, they have the legend Colin, of course, and Grouch, right? Who, is kind of multitasking as creative director and game director for Guild Wars 2, but also the community manager at the same time. He's wearing multiple hats there.
That's a lot of hats.
In that regard. But yeah, I think it would be super cool to have, say, a live stream, right, on the Guild Wars 2 channel, talking about the expansions. Have Grouch walk us through what an expansion is going to look like. I think that would be awesome. Of course, when we get a little bit closer, because I imagine that there's still a few things up in the air at this stage in development, because we're kind of getting into it. They're getting into it. But that type of thing would be amazing, I think, to really get that communication out there. Even more so than a blog post.
Warframe does that. So every week, I think it's still every week. I think they do like a dev stream, and when they have like a big expansion or a really big content update, that dev stream will become, or that preceding dev stream will become, like this is what's coming, this is what to look forward to, and they always have a banger trailer too. Now Guild Wars 2 doesn't need to be on that scale, but something like that would be like amazing.
Yeah, and like basically, I think the trailer thing is important because so much of the Guild Wars 2 community probably gets their info through, like their info on updates and stuff through YouTube and like through the Guild Wars 2 channel. Because the blog post was like on the Guild Wars 2 website, and if you're not plugged in enough, you probably didn't even know that there's an update coming this Feb 28. Did you know that there was something coming?
As a segue,
Right?
yeah, I did. Of course I did. I still keep up to date. I still go on the Reddit here and there, and I still
Sneb
get my
didn't.
notifications.
I'm exposing Sneb.
But
he actually
I
didn't
knew by
know.
obligation.
Yeah.
But I do have one point though, on the topic of like Grouch's comment just a second ago, and whether or not the trailer should be dropped a week before or not. It seems to me like a pretty simple, clear-cut case of why they're doing it, because he's focusing on player reactivation. And I guess like if you hit him hard, hit him all at once and say play now,
Yeah, you
play
can play
for the
now.
next week,
Yeah.
like go ahead. That's a lot easier to fit into a schedule than planning a week ahead in a busy everyday kind of lifestyle where we have to go to work and do all the other things like that regular casual players do. I think I don't know. I kind of get why they're doing it like this, because if the focus is on reactivation, the rest of us are going to be here anyway.
Yeah.
We'll play it regardless.
Yeah.
We know it already.
We're irrelevant.
We don't need this.
Yeah.
Exactly. We don't need this fucking trailer to drop. We just need to know the date, and we'll be there regardless.
Yeah.
So I mean, is it that important to like satisfy our hunger for the trailer? Like I get it. I've been exactly where you're sitting right now mentally, kind of just like eager for all the information that I could get. But like as someone who doesn't necessarily like, I know for a fact that I don't have the time on Tuesday, but I know also that it's dropping on Tuesday, and I have the rest of the week to play it, and it's sitting there. Like I'll be back. I definitely have my weekend plans settled. And in that regard, yeah, I think all the information that's going to drop on Tuesday and all the streams that are going to be happening, all the videos that will be coming out while the content is live, with guides, with information, with all of these things, like talking about the actual drop. I don't know. It's just going to probably hype me even more to be ready for it on the weekend. So I see the pros and cons, but I definitely understand why they might be focusing on the player reactivation.
I mean, I agree. It's purely like a selfish, like, it's just purely a personal satisfaction thing, to be honest. I get, in terms of like business effectiveness and that sort of thing, I totally respect the decision. It probably makes sense for them. Like there's been so many successful sort of shadow drops and that sort of thing lately. And yeah, like I don't think it really matters in terms of analytics, I suppose. It's purely just like a community sentiment thing, like managing expectations, that sort of thing. I think that's all it is, really. But I don't think it'll impact like how many people play the patch, really. Yeah.
I am a little curious if I can go back a little bit as well, because I don't feel like I was entirely satisfied with the answer.
Ooh.
So like, what? No,
Ooh.
no, 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 don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. No, but like, just to get back to like, what in today's day and age with the community that we have, what would be the like ideal thing to drop? Like, what would get people's heart
Wing
pumping?
8.
Yeah, I know.
Wing.
Copium is great in this one. Oh my god, that meme lives on for what, 3, 4 years? How long has it been?
Yeah. No, I mean, I think it's a very, very good question because I think it actually pushes you to what's actually going on here. There are two separate things happening. I think they get a bit confused and conflated. It's like the marketing thing and like, oh yeah, market the game, get more players in, get the name of the game out there. But there's the other thing, and I think that in a way people use marketing as a bit of a shield for what's going on underneath, which is I'm a little bit worried. I want ArenaNet to basically manage the community a little bit and kind of assuage the fears of the people who are already playing the game, right? And I think these are, it's kind of like the same, people want the same solution, but it's two different problems. Because, of course, you're dealing with two different demographics. People who maybe don't play the game or aren't aware of the game, and the people who are already in the game. And I think a lot of players just want to know that the game isn't going to die, right? And of course, yeah, if you look at the game, I think DeRoir opened with this, and it's completely true. If you look at the game, it's like loads of quality of life. Season 1 is back. Strike missions are coming into the game. Big roadmap. A lot of updates. Alliances on the way. There's actually a lot going on in Guild Wars 2. In a way, this perception is a little bit warped, right? I think there just is a little bit of nervousness. I think there always is in MMO communities like, oh, my game is dying, right? People are always worried about this, but I think this is especially true for Guild Wars 2 because the game has struggled with consistency, and we are going into a new phase of the game, right? I imagine if you went on to, say, the World of Warcraft subreddit, kind of in the middle of battle for Azeroth, people probably weren't super happy, right, about that.
I was there.
Yeah, and I feel like that it's kind of the same thing here, right? Like, people are like, please save us, ArenaNet, make us feel confident in the game again. And in the same way that, in World of Warcraft, I'm sure there was that period as well, and there have been in a lot of different MMOs as well, of course, for all of this type of thing. And I think that that's kind of worth considering here. So I think when it comes to like, what are people really looking for, that big knockout feature, a big part of it is people want to know that the quality is going to be there and it's not just going to be kind of like quote unquote maintenance mode, right? Like not another Dragon Response mission saga, right? It's going to be great map, replayability, new rewards, new things to go after, new achievements, good chunk of content that you can really sink your teeth into. And then, of course, the quality of that sets the tone for what you're looking forward to down the line. We know that there are strikes coming, but, people want them to be really, really good. I actually, the strike one is one that I actually think Arena are not getting enough credit for, because I think Old Lions Court actually was really nice. I think that really impressed.
I was really enjoyed Old Lions Court.
Yeah, I was really impressed by that. So I actually think we shouldn't be worried about the quality of strike missions, but I can certainly understand players being concerned about the quality of maps, right? Because map quality has been a little bit up and down over the history of the game for sure, right? But yeah, go ahead.
To be clear, are we getting any new strikes this year before the next expansion? I was under the impression we weren't. I don't think so. A fractal.
It seems it's fractal.
Yeah. We're getting a fractal in like June. So like in terms of knockout feature, I mean, I think they've sort of managed expectations in that I'm not expecting this next update to bring player housing or playable race or elite specs or something. I just want a meaty update with a good replayable meta, nice art, and some nice new skins. That's all I want. But I think their wording in their studio updates, some people might be thinking that some of these like combat updates, combat features might be coming with this quarterly update. It's hard. I'm not expecting anything huge, but I don't know. I think they need
I take it when... Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I take it that when you say rewards and skins and stuff like that, the legendary variants don't really get people pumping that hard anymore, or
I think people like the variants.
Do. I like the variants a lot, and I will be going for like this Suwon one. But some people don't have the Oreen legendary, and so I hope that there's just like a full new weapon skin set, like previous Living Worlds had.
Yeah.
They all sort of had some new armor set plus weapon set sort of thing. And I just hope whatever they release with this one, they're good. They're good skins, and I want to go for them.
As an aside, I really do like how they approach the legendaries in the Dragons.
Yeah.
Because like if you're going to try something different on a piece of content you're putting out, I think that's where you do it, legendaries. And it's not like Orine legendaries are comparatively difficult to get. So
No, even I have most of them.
yeah, like my first weapon was the
I'm
Orine
not even
axe.
joking.
Yeah, I got the
Yeah.
Orine axe in like a day. I was just like, okay, this is like that makes me never want to get a Heart of Thorns legendary. But,
I did the Orine one and then straight onto Shining Blade after that. That was like, ugh.
yeah, I eventually want to get Astrolarian, but I'm really not looking forward to it.
Oh, yeah.
Those
Very
ones
good.
are great.
I kind of like the
was,
collections.
that one was good. I like the
those are like
collections.
I
the
do
best
like
ways
them,
of getting the legendaries, in my opinion.
Mhm.
That was fun.
Can I just on the topic of collections? I think that would be a really cool avenue for ArenaNet to go down. Because like, what if Elite Specs didn't just have one weapon collection, and with the quarterly updates they added a new weapon collection for each spec or something like
Or an
that? where
armor
they can
set, or
or an armor set. I would love Elite Spec
armor set
sets.
and-
that
and-
would
and open world legendaries.
Ooh.
yeah.
Like open world legendary. I don't care how long it takes. It should probably take a while. Like maybe not world versus world long, but like something that makes you want to do more open world, like do more metas, maybe old metas, maybe give me a reason to go back to Silver Wastes or something like that. Like something
Actually-
along that line. Like that's content to me. Like
I actually kind of because I mean the first thing that I was thinking was all the amulets and stuff like that, or trinkets. Those kind of fit that bill. That was what I was thinking first. But then the legendary variants of the Orine ones actually very much feel like exactly what you're describing. It's all open world. It's basically just like going from boss to boss. I
Yeah.
kind of like how they've done those variants. Honestly, like the collections are great. The only thing that really like it drives me off the wall are the fragmented memories of the dragon.
yeah.
That just seems like an absolute like this. It stops me in my track. Like it goes from like just going from boss to boss to boss, fighting cool things, to just running around the open world looking for random events.
yeah.
Those are annoying.
Yeah,
But
agreed.
other than that, like everything feels, I don't know, it feels like going through the world to get those different dragon variants. But
Yeah.
maybe that's
Yeah, I guess that's where I'm like leaning toward, like something that, because yeah, somebody in the chat said all legendary weapons are open world legendaries, but I specifically mean armor, because let's be real, like people don't want to raid. Like
Yeah,
large majority of
it's
people, they
true.
don't want to raid. World versus world takes way too long, and nobody PvPs.
Yeah.
So if you like, if these open world players, which is a large majority of the player base, wants to get legendary armor, they probably have to raid, and that alone is a deterrent. Even though, like we all know, raids aren't really that big of a deal. So just
Yeah.
have like a collection, like have it take a while, have it like take you to some cool places you haven't been to, or something along those lines, and just I don't know. I think that'd be cool. Like I have legendary armor. Like I wouldn't really be that incentivized to get it unless it looks amazing. But I think that'd be really good for the majority of the player base to just have open world legendaries as content.
Yeah, I think collections and that type of progression is really good. You know, Guild Wars 2 is often a game that where players sometimes struggle to find a goal, like something to go after. Having a collection like that, I think, is a really good thing. It's like an element of progression to it where you can work towards something. It's why I was very intrigued by, they accidentally showed off some kind of like monthly or even like seasonal, like not exactly battle pass without paying any money, right? It was like battle pass without the paying, right? They kind of showed off by accident on one of the EOD preview streams. I was pretty excited about stuff like that, because I think stuff like that can not only get players to go and try out loads of different things, like older maps, for example, older pieces of content, different activities in the game, but I think it's also really good to have some kind of mission, right? Like, I think even as a very experienced player in Guild Wars 2, it's quite difficult to know what you're supposed to be doing sometimes, right? Or like what would be like a good thing to do. It's one of the biggest questions that you very often get if you're a content creator in the space. It's like, hey, what am I supposed to be doing right now? What am I going for?
Yeah.
in this regard.
Yeah, I'll definitely sometimes like. Sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and then you reply with like, anything, do anything,
Yeah.
anything you want, and it's kind of like, well, there's too many options. I'm out. Yeah.
Also, for people who are saying like people who do open world, who only do open worlds don't need legendaries, it's not about needing it.
Right, yeah,
people just want it because it's cool. Like, do any of us really need a sky scale? No, but it's cool as hell. Like,
exactly, it's just a thing. It's a thing to go for and collect. It's legendary. I mean, it's legendary. Yeah. It's legendary. You won the legendary gear, right?
Yeah.
But you want to bet enough to go into a raid. I mean, I kind of want to like, because Card in chat here kind of like put me on a train of thought on this topic as well, because he kind of said something to the extent of everyone wants everything without playing the game, and I still remember that kind of mentality and like being very much against that back when I was like very hardcore, because it's always supposed to be but like I think I've had like I think I'm more of a just like I'm an empathetic man. So I used to be very much like in favor of the challenge, in favor of like doing all of these things to like get the highest reward. And I mean, honestly, we've kind of been guilty of like gatekeeping that mentality for a long time, or that content for a long time, by just like keeping that mentality of like you have to just push hard, just go hard for it. And then obviously I kind of left the game for a while, took a little bit of a break, and started seeing all of these updates roll in, and the jealousy hit me. I'm not gonna lie. I felt like it was like there was a lot of things that were just at this point getting handed to everyone, and I just didn't really have the time. It was just kind of like I also just want this to be easy peasy. And then some of the harder strike missions came out, and I didn't have a group. Like I was kind of like, damn, I also really want to do that, but I don't want to put in the work. And I kind of had this like I don't know, it's like an epiphany, let's call it that, for lack of a better word, where I just kind of like found myself in the mindset that I've been criticizing for so many years. And I could definitely see where a lot of that a lot of those players come from mentally. Like they have a job, they have a life, they don't have a whole lot of time to grind through everything and like find a group and keep on hitting the CMs like hours and hours and hours and hours. They got to go to bed, or they got to like take care of, I mean, their job or whatever. They're 50 wives, like someone says in chat here. And I don't know, I kind of came to just be a little bit more empathetic to that mindset. I don't think it's something that we should necessarily go as hard as Card did right there. Although I understand where the mentality is coming from. Card in chat, by the way. No, by the way, Card, you know I don't mean anything bad when calling you out. I love you, man. But yeah, it's just kind of a funny situation. Like I don't know, I see it not as an
Yeah,
I think there's a balance.
That problem would be mitigated if the LFG worked. Like, people would be more incentivized to actually do more content, do harder content, if the LFG actually functioned properly, and it doesn't.
I mean, LFG is just like a mode of communication between people, because I think that's also on the players themselves to optimize that side of communicating properly and like putting themselves out there and interacting, because like the LFG doesn't work because people don't put an effort to make it work. Like you can only make a tool work so well before there's also the human element that comes into play. And I know the LFG has a lot of issues, don't get me wrong, but it's one of those things that just maybe we can also make it effort.
I think to kind of refocus here a little bit, I think these are the type of things that would be super cool if ArenaNet could say, oh yeah, we're aware of these issues. This is the kind of thing we're going to be tackling in the expansions, right? This is the type of thing that we'd attack. You know, maybe one expansion, we'll hit the LFG. We'll go, you know what? Let's take a pickaxe to it and see what we can do, right? Oh yeah, you know, we're going to make it easier to get into guilds and join communities. Yeah, that's one thing. That's an expansion feature. That's what an expansion feature looks like. Just to kind of refocus again. I think that a big thing that's up in the air is, what do these expansions look like? Right? What does a mini expansion look like? What kind of features and content can we expect to be attached to that, right? I think people are worried that it's going to be basically Iceberg Saga, right? I know I'm using that example a lot, but let's be honest, it's what everyone's a little bit worried about, right? So that's why I'm saying it. So it's a case of, okay, well, actually, no, it's going to be of a very high standard. It's going to be addressing key issues in the game and shipping very impactful features that are going to enhance the player's experience, not only for new players, but also for players who are currently existing within the game as well. And it's not just going to be, it's not going to be a meme. But again, I don't want to kind of just like sweep this under the rug to an extent, but I really think that the way this gets solved is they've got to do it, right? It's, the only, in my opinion, the Doom will continue until that expansion drops and ArenaNet absolutely knock it out of the park. If they fail, then, well, I guess we're doomed forever, I guess. But
Eternal Doom.
Yeah, Eternal Doom, if that doesn't go well. But, I think that, if Tuesday goes really well, this next patch goes really well, then there'll be like a glimmer of hope. Because, I'm with DeRoir on this one. I actually don't understand why people would be dooming about the game right now. There's been loads of really cool stuff. Seriously, I'm actually on team anti-Doom. I think there's been loads of cool stuff added to the game, like loads of things that have made the game significantly better in small ways. I just want to, once again, I've got to tip my hat to the Quality of Life team. They have done so many really good things. They're the unsung heroes of Guild Wars 2 right now. Eventually, we're going to have game mode specific keybinds, character specific keybinds. I'm ready for it. They've already got the infrastructure there. I'm ready for that to be added to the game. Please do it. Let's go. Come on. Make the game playable, right? Yes.
Yeah.
But
so here's a question. Do we feel that there would be less Doom in general if there was more incentive to do older content like dungeons and stuff?
No.
Oh yeah, PvE map queuing, here it comes, let's go. I think all of the Doom is actually dooming about what's to come, not what is happening right now. I think, in my opinion, that's where a lot of the worry is.
I think I want to add to that, right? I think there's another big point, which is that I think the Doom comes from a lot of players like myself being terminally online and seeing what other games are doing. It's really hard to ignore seeing all the Final Fantasy, World of Warcraft, Destiny 2 advertising in your face, and then Guild Wars 2 being your favorite MMO, and it's like, where's the stuff, ArenaNet? Where's the trailers? Where's the video? Where's the promo? And I think if you ignore all that, if you don't if you kind of just block all that stuff out, you're probably pretty satisfied with Guild Wars 2. And I was too. It's just recently, it's just up to this, this last little bit before the quarterly update where I'm just being fed all this advertising from Destiny and stuff that it makes me kind of reflect on Guild Wars 2. And I'm I think it's a great game, but I would love to see, I'd love to see it out there more. That's basically it.
I'll never forget. I was doing some written work, and I was also raiding because I multitask very poorly. And I'm in the raid. I think we're doing Sabbatha. Yeah. So I don't really have to pay attention because I'm not really assigned anything that week. And I just remember a stream I was watching just doing Belshazzar and Lost Ark, and I'm just like, what am I doing? That's so cool. And it's just when you see other games, it's really hard not to doom. And granted, it's not that it's not a this game is better than that game, or this game is worse than that game, or anything like that, because Guild Wars 2 is a fantastic game. I absolutely adore this game. It's just I want to feel excited about something again. It's not a chore for me to play. It's not something I'm really worried about logging in. I'm just oh, here we go again. It's just I want to feel excited. I want to get hyped over something.
Yeah, and I think MMOs are a time investment, and there's opportunity cost to playing an MMO. It sounds really weird, but it's if you have limited time to play video games, you want to know that your time is worth investing into this one instead of the one over there that's doing some really cool epic raid that just came out last week. I think that's where it is. Yeah,
I'm super curious about this. I want to kind of dive into this a little bit here. So what is it? What is it about a game like Lost Ark or Final Fantasy or World of Warcraft, all these other MMOs? What is grabbing you about these titles? And what's kind of missing from Guild Wars 2 that perhaps is not causing you to feel the same way about the game? I'm really interested in that. Like, and just, that's full open. Just like, go wherever we want to go with this. That's very interesting to hear.
Good question.
The medium answer is it depends on the MMO. Like different MMOs do different things. Like as I said before, I play BDO because I just want to turn my brain off and just grind. Like and it is the best MMO for doing that by a mile. And that's fine. Like every MMO has its place for stuff like that. Final Fantasy, a lot of Final Fantasy for me is story driven and raid driven. Like the story in Final Fantasy, there is no MMO that has a better story, period. And the raid content is also great. Like I can just jump in, and if I'm behind, I'll maybe spend a weekly reset catching up on gear and do the Savage content for that tier. If it's Lost Ark, you probably got to swipe a couple $1,000. No. For Lost Ark, is a lot of it is also like raid content. I'm not caught up in Lost Ark right now, but I was for a while. It's again, the raid content is even better. Like if you're like at the eye level. I can't speak on World of Warcraft. I don't really play it. Destiny 2 is just general gameplay. If you just want to play a first-person shooter and do things that you would do in other MMOs, Destiny 2 has that. Yeah.
Well, so I will also give an answer. I'll start with a positive in that I think Guild Wars 2 excels in moment-to-moment gameplay. Like it's just really fun to play at its core. And also, Guild Wars 2 has killed my drive for item level. I played like Dragonflight and I really liked it, but I unsubscribed before like I literally unsubbed before the next patch because I just fell into that loop of like, my gear isn't good enough to do this thing, time to like farm some open world to get my item level up, and I just couldn't do it. And then I had the exact same experience in Final Fantasy. I really liked that game, and I went back to it because I was like, oh, the new raid looks really sick. And then I hit that item level thing, and I'm like, I'm not doing this. I don't want to do item level anymore. I hate this. I hate this system. It's such a relic to me. But I think the thing that draws me to those games is just like I think the consistency. Like I know that I'm gonna experience new stuff really regularly. I know that when I jump in and I play some content in the next like 2 months, I'm gonna get something actually proper brand new. And I think a lot of MMO players like to experience new stuff on a regular occasion. You know, they don't want to keep rerunning the old thing. Like I've been in Guild Wars 2, I've been running the same like 4 End of Dragon strikes for the last like year, and I just want to
do another
experience
Blade
something
Sim.
brand new. Exactly. Yeah, I think
it
that's
again.
all it is. It's just the newness of having content all the time, and they have the budgets to facilitate that, and I totally understand that ArenaNet does not. You know, they cannot compete to that like level of content cadence. And that's fine. I think that's the reason that I end up sort of dipping out every now and then to play another MMO because they've got something going on.
In regards to item level, this will be quick. In regards to item level, I see what you mean, but like a lot of times, it's my issue with Guild Wars 2 is that sometimes the item level is what I want. Like I want to be able to feel that progression, to feel myself getting stronger. Guild Wars 2 just doesn't have that. It's not that it's a bad thing. And again, this isn't this MMO is better or anything like that. It's just sometimes I want a certain thing out of a game, and I'll play the game that provides that facilitates that. And if I want to feel like I'm getting stronger or slowly progressing or like long-term progression, I'll play a game that does that.
Yeah, I actually don't care about strength at all anymore. I just care about fashion. And the only I'm playing WoW and Final Fantasy and trying to get into that new content because the new armor set looks cool.
Looks sick,
if it
right?
doesn't look cool, I actually don't care, and I just will not even do the content probably because it doesn't have any cool thing locked behind it. Yeah,
that's super fair.
That's another big point. That's why I play Final Fantasy and WoW and Destiny and stuff every now and then is because they have the cool thing is locked behind the new content. And in Guild Wars 2, I think pretty consistently like the cool stuff is in the cash shop and not quite behind the content. And I want to basically have my cake and eat it too. I want to play the content and also be rewarded with a cool thing at the end of it. And Guild Wars 2 kind of like fumbles it
with like specific stuff
in the reward,
as opposed to kind of like generic. A lot of Guild Wars 2 stuff is like you get gold and you buy it, right? As opposed to okay, you complete a certain task and then you get a specific thing. I think that definitely is something that is missing from Guild Wars for sure.
Someone tried to say Guild Wars. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Let's bring Deroir in because I think you wanted to say something a while. But let's go.
It's just a quick, just on the topic of progression in all the other games and whatnot. Would you say that one of the fundamental things that is missing from your enjoyment of Guild Wars 2 is a more steady progression system? Like,
but not even.
However, you would like, it could be like an arbitrary thing because like we used to have like obviously back in Heart of Thorns, the mastery system came out swinging and kind of killed everyone because the barrier to entry for all the cool content was so high and it was just an XP grind. But I kind of loved that. That was like that was the best kind of thing about the mastery system. Now we don't have that. The mastery system is something you blast through almost instantly to move on to the next thing. But are we talking about like would it be cool or interesting or in any way like tempting to have a little number that would arbitrarily progress from doing something? So say you have like I'm not going to bring in the meme of like a leaderboard, but like say you have like an actual rank that you kind of progress up or like level of doing the content. So like strike, this is very very much just a brainchild that came out of nowhere, but like if you do strikes, you progress in a certain ranking in the strike ranking system, and then you become better and better, higher tier, and it just progresses infinitely. Is that something that we might want to introduce for everything here, where you just get access to newer, cooler rewards at a higher level, or I don't know, like a weird emote like you did with the PvP back in the day when the rank 80 was just fucking like years and years of hard work?
Well, I think there's a version here of this that does make some sense. I think Enko spoke about this a while ago, is that maybe you could get a drop from somewhere, and then if you beat a certain piece of content like X times, it upgrades. So let's say you get like a weapon from clearing or an open world boss. Let's say you get a special weapon for killing an open world boss, and then if you continuously kill that boss over and over again, you can upgrade it basically, and it can look a little bit different, something like that. I think that
so like the Arena legendaries.
Yeah, a bit like the Arena legendaries. Yeah, similar system to this. Yeah, I think stuff like that can be pretty cool for sure. And you could add kill count, right, as well. Like I think just tracking how many times have you done Chat Garant might be horrifying, but also might be pretty interesting as well, right? And I think people love this stuff, right? Like increasing the numbers, yeah, definitely. That's something that a lot of players are looking for. So I think adding additional progression systems is definitely like an effective way to kind of keep people engaged in the game, for sure.
We've always competed on, someone mentioned a really funny thing, like the giant spoon of Tequatl or the fractal spoons before they were removed. Like, we've always kind of competed with these weird things that prove that you played something so much that you just had a stupid amount of a ridiculously useless thing. But that was fun. At least I thought so.
Yeah. I'm full like I'm just on the like fashion perspective. If they had like a void version of that Aurene legendary and the only way to get it was to do Harvest Temple challenge mode, I'd be all up on that. That'd be like an extra 60 hours of content for me. I'd very much enjoy that.
Given how on the topic of the void legendaries, because I feel like that's a topic in itself, but it's something I gave a little bit of thought. Given how the story of Guild Wars will possibly progress in the future, and how interesting of a reward system the legendary variants have been for ArenaNet to kind of pump out regularly and have people be interested in legendaries again on a more regular basis. I don't think it's all that far off to expect void legendaries to appear with the expansion.
With the next one, do you mean?
Yeah. Because we don't know what the void is, right? I mean, yeah, we do, but it's something that still is in the air. It's something that could still evolve. Maybe that's a future story plot.
You know, I want to slightly refocus here again a little bit, because there was something that kind of came up, specifically when we're talking about other MMOs, you know, World of Warcraft, Final Fantasy, and Destiny. I'm curious, and this is a question. I'm just curious. Do you guys think the presentation of these games, like, again, kind of the marketing, the hype, right? The videos, the trailers, right? Like showing off all the features. Do you think that's a big part of why you kind of like feel very attracted to these games to an extent, and I feel like they're very much worth your time? Because there was this comment by a player who came from World of Warcraft, and they said, I played Guild Wars 2 for a few days, and they're like, it's a good game, but I don't know, it just didn't feel like it was worth my time. And that was just so interesting to me. That's like the impression people get sometimes. And I wonder if that is kind of the presentation, like is that part of the thing that is causing this difference in perception between these MMOs, even internally within the community? Like, is it the manufactured hype, right, that's created by, you know, getting these sick trailers out there, showing off all this cool stuff, showing all the flashy weapons, the armor skins, right? Like the bosses, the encounters, the map, the everything. Like, do you think that's a big part of kind of keeping community morale high and keeping the people who are already in the game excited for what's coming next?
Yes,
100%.
Absolutely.
Yes.
If someone names an MMO, a popular MMO, I can instantly name what sells it. Like, if you mention BDO, I can point you to any class trailer, literally any of them.
Yep,
because they're amazing. If you name Final Fantasy, I can just point to any boss trailer. Like,
yeah, or you show them one of the
huge.
cinematic trailers for Final Fantasy, and they'll be like, "Oh, I'm in. This is the coolest thing ever." You know,
even if it's just to like go in and do that piece of content, you got them in. Like that's the point. And I know I talked about BDO before, but BDO are masters at this because their whole selling point is new classes. Like, that's how they make their money. It's just new classes. It's actually wild, like, how important presentation is. Like, Destiny 2, looking at the Strand classes, just like, whoa, this is super cool. Like, it has to make you want to play. And Guild Wars 2 trailers, like, they're good. It's not bad, and this isn't, again, because I know chat's gonna eat me alive, but it's not that Guild Wars 2 is bad at any of this. It's that it needs to make me feel like I want to play, and it hasn't been doing that.
I think presentation is 100% a huge factor. So I do editing for a living, and it's so important to be able to create promotion that really inspires you to like get out there and grab that product. And yeah, I agree. Like the Guild Wars 2, I want this new update, right? I want the new trailer for the new update to be something you can link to someone who's not played Guild Wars 2, and they're like, "Yep, I'm in. I'm gonna do it." Because like you can kind of do that with like the Final Fantasy or Destiny trailers. Like you can send the trailer to someone, and they'll be like, "Wow, that looks sick. I'm so jumping in." And yeah, I agree. Like Guild Wars 2 probably hasn't really stepped up to that bar with their like promotion and marketing, I think.
I think part of it is also because like the engine is ancient, and it's kind of hard to do a lot of cinematic stuff within the game. Like it's really hard to make it look as good. But I don't know, because the voice acting in Guild Wars 2 is top notch. The story stuff is like fine. I'm trying to think about what we can sell in Guild Wars 2.
Cracking up in the corner.
what in Guild Wars 2 can we sell to a player who hasn't been exposed to it and make them go, "This is really cool"? Legendary weapons?
It just needs to be a hype trailer. That's all. It just needs to be really well edited, really fun, like upbeat. It's blending the in-game sounds with the music in such a way that it seems really exciting. It just needs to be a really well done trailer. I think there's a lot of value in that. And other MMOs 100% recognize that, and that's why they make their trailers for every single update. They make their trailers like absolutely bomb because they are really excellent because they want. That is the jumping in point for everyone watching. All players that haven't played the game, every time they release an update, that is an opportunity to bring in some new players. And I remember seeing, like, I think on the subreddit today, people talking about how the trailer isn't that important because the update is for people who play Guild Wars 2 now, not for new players. They don't want to jump in for this update. And I totally disagree. I think every single update is an opportunity for new players to jump in if you market it right.
Exactly, yeah.
So, I mean, okay then. So, honestly, I feel like we should wait a week almost, and then we can almost like talk about this in retrospect, because I mean, who knows? Maybe the trailer is fire and it's doing exactly what we're talking about, right? But you know, I'm super curious in this. I think we kind of got into it a little bit there, but let's go further, right? Like, if let's imagine that we're the director for the next expansion trailer. What are we doing? Like, what are we showcasing there? Like, do we want to go like a mega cinematic thing, kind of more akin to Final Fantasy or World of Warcraft, or even, of course, I really like the Heart of Thorns trailer, which was kind of in that direction, right? Like a bit more of a cinematic big thing, not necessarily showing gameplay, but showing like an epic thing, like, hey, come play Guild Wars 2, right? Are we showing gameplay? Are we going to show the strike mission bosses, the meta events? I think I'd probably lean towards open world in my opinion, actually. Like, you know, it's hard to do without spoiling, I guess, but dude, imagine showing Sue 1. Let's go. Dragon's End, big. Like, what are we doing? What are we putting in?
Okay, so new expansion, I want to go the Final Fantasy route, where you start with something cinematic, maybe like an MCU opening, right? Like, you'll have a voice line say something as, like, it says, you know, ArenaNet, whatever. And you'll have dialogue from the story that, like, kind of talks about what happened in End of Dragons or whatever. See some open world stuff, some little skirmishes, maybe a meta event, and like more story dialogue. This big climactic meta event, whatever, and then it's just like, boom, next expansion, and then like a post credit thing of like the strike boss or whatever, and then that's it.
Okay,
like something like that. I think that'd be cool. Like,
I agree. I would do both. So, as in, I think their Guild Wars 2, their End of Dragons launch trailer, that cinematic one, extremely well done. Viewership on that video is very low, though. I would blend that like cinematic style with the actual gameplay trailer that they did with End of Dragons. Just have them both. I think that's kind of like the way to go, to be honest.
Why do you think the viewership was low then on that? Because I mean, are we just wrong? Because are we saying, hey, do something that didn't work very well?
Yeah, well, I think it.
Wait,
it was low. It came out on.
End of Dragons came out.
It came out on the day.
Yeah, it was terribly like no one in the community wanted to, like, had any time to really watch it and take it in and dissect it and toss it around to all their friends and families, because hey, we were all busy playing the game.
Yeah,
it was that was a terrible situation, honestly.
So I also think, when did the trailer come out? Along with
it came out literally the day End of Dragons launched. It was when the launch trailer came out.
The expensive cinematic trailer.
So I remember End of Dragons coming out like a week and a half after Lost Ark NA came out. And I'm pretty sure it kind of just got like, not overtaken, but like it was kind of an afterthought. So that may have been a contributor.
What do you mean by afterthought?
So like there was a metric ton of hype for Lost Ark NA, and a lot of people weren't even thinking about Guild Wars 2 at the time.
So you're thinking that the marketing team at ArenaNet decided to not release it because of Lost Ark?
No, I just think they were never going to get a lot of views because the release of Lost Ark was just way too big.
And here's the other thing is the Destiny 2, like Destiny 2's last expansion came out on the same day as End of
February
Dragons.
was a big month too. There was
it was
Elden Ring as well. I think
Elden Ring.
It was crazy.
The timing was just never going to work out for them.
Yeah, I don't think you do like that's like coming back to that point about like the update that's coming on the 28th. I don't know that like doing the trailer on the day that the content comes out is like the best move, especially for an expansion. I definitely don't think it's the best move. You need to have at least a few days of like winding up the hype with that launch trailer. Yeah, on the same day, that's weird. Because I mean, everyone's already playing the game. As you said, Deroir, everyone's already playing End of Dragons. They're not gonna watch the trailer, and
But that's not where the views are coming from, though, right? I feel like it's like the player base is pumping the viewership. I feel like that's not really the case. I almost,
Right.
I kind of want to throw something into the mix here a little bit. When this is coming from a World of Warcraft enjoyer perspective, I have always loved the WoW expansion trailers, right? Like the cinematic trailers. And I think what they do really well, I think this is maybe less the case for Final Fantasy, but in WoW, you see the big bad, right? Like it's there. This is amazing. This is the coolest thing ever. I see the Lich King, right? I think that's the one people always talk about, right? It is the Wrath of the Lich King World of Warcraft trailer, like considered to be one of the best trailers ever. I think because it's awesome, it's amazing, it's epic. It's like, well, I'm sold. I'm gonna go buy the game right now. Like, do you think that perhaps that Guild Wars 2's story, in a way, has actually massively hamstrung its marketing potential because they're very concerned about spoilers, right? They don't.
Yeah.
The way the story is set up is look. When they showed us the Jade Sea, they showed like nothing. Right? They're like, oh yeah, that's like, because of course it was Suwon, right? So they couldn't like spoil the entire thing. So everyone was like, oh my god, every single map is empty. It's over. Guild Wars 2 end of development. GG, go next, uninstall the game. Right? Whereas that doesn't seem to happen nearly as much with other MMOs because in some sense, the way the storyline is set up in those games is they can say, yeah, this is it. Here's the big guy. Here's the boss. Look at this. Look how cool this is. Look how epic this is. You're going to fight this guy. It's going to be you. You can do it. It's you. And I think that actually is that relevant? I feel like that's super relevant actually when it comes to hype and marketing.
I think it's super relevant. Yeah.
And I don't think hiding the spoilers. I don't know that it ever pays off with Guild Wars 2. Like whenever they've hid these spoilers, I don't think there's any been like some point where like they've tried to hide some plot point in trailers and then you hit it in the game and you're like, whoa, that was unexpected. That was crazy. Like with End of Dragons, I don't know. I don't think anyone was super blown away or shocked.
What I mean
except for maybe the end of season, whatever.
I feel like the story in other games is almost set up so like you already know to an extent. Like for example, it's not a spoiler that you're going to fight the Lich King in Wrath of the Lich King, right?
Right.
You know what I mean, right? Or you know, like in you can go to the next one, Cataclysm, right? It's not a surprise that Deathwing shows up, right? In Cataclysm, I'm sure this is true in Final Fantasy as well. I'm sure there's plenty of examples in other games that we can talk about here. But with Guild Wars 2, the way the narrative is structured almost works against. I feel like this is true in the Living World episodes too. They can't show you anything because if they do, they'll kind of they feel like they're going to ruin their own narrative to an extent, right? Which is a bit of a problem from like a tactical perspective, I suppose.
In Final Fantasy, this might be a scattered thought because there's like three things I want to say, but in Final Fantasy, the trailer assumes that you've played other Final Fantasies because a lot of Final Fantasy 14 content are callbacks to other Final Fantasies. But there's also like a community accepted thing where one, if you're not up to that story, you typically don't watch the trailer. And two, the community doesn't really directly spoil stuff, like overall. So they can kind of get away with just like doing whatever they want in the trailer because like the community is very good at not spoiling stuff usually. And if you haven't played other Final Fantasies, you're in the dark anyway.
Yeah, I think they were definitely very cagey with the End of Dragons. I remember going into that expansion. I was excited because I didn't have like any details. I had no idea where the plot was going to go. But from the outside looking in, the thing is, I'm already invested into Guild Wars, so I was excited to play regardless. But from the outside looking in, you're like, what is the plot to this expansion? Who's the central villain? Who are we fighting? 100%. That's like a big issue. Yeah.
And I just want to actually bring up, I want to highlight what Zlint said here as well. They actually did this with Mordramoth, right? And they kind of set it up a lot with Season 2, right? Like the end of Season 2 kind of really, oh yeah, it's Mordramoth. This is the thing. You see vines everywhere, right? And then it gave you the Heart of Thorns logo right at the end of the Season 2 cinematic. And yeah, then they released this really crazy trailer where you have, Ritlock being a revenant, for example, right? Summoning the giant dragon. And then you see this kind of this monstrosity of vines, right, face him at the end. That was fucking awesome, right? Okay,
That was really cool, yeah.
that kind of stuff is super cool. I definitely enjoy that type of setup for sure. For going into expansions, I think that stuff is like super effective and can be really good at hooking players to not only come back to the game, but certainly attract them. Like, wow, this looks awesome. I want to get in on this action. So I think there is an element of like, kind of structuring the story in a way that makes sense to market, right, rather than having it set up in a way that they can't show anything, right? Like they need to be able to show stuff, right? Let's just kind of let's round this off. Yeah. They need to be able to show things without ruining their game in their mind, right? Like I don't know, I don't want to tell you, like they got to show stuff.
Yeah, it's missing that like call to action. That's basically it. Like it's just kind of a bunch of shots of like the new maps and stuff, but it doesn't really mean much to people outside of the game.
Is that also something that kind of frustrates you going into this next update on Tuesday, that we don't know where the story is going?
Yeah,
like,
there's been no
obviously
setup.
Beforehand, really. we were talking much more about the rewards and what it would actually, be. But is the story something that's really on everyone's mind still, or like where is?
Well, that's the thing is we haven't been given much to go off of, so I'm like, I don't know whether to be hyped for the story or not, because I agree. Like, not much has been set up, so I really have no idea. And there's been no trailers, so again, no idea what's going to be happening.
Yeah, I don't want to. I have to appeal to the weird situation the game is in right now. They've kind of ended like a massive 10-year story, and they're starting a completely new scheme with the way they're setting things up. So I think it would have been nice to have a bit of a crossover, but I don't know, like the game's in a pretty weird spot right now. They had to rush out this expansion, then completely change things. That they've done their best to kind of keep things going, and release new stuff. I think that it's going to be very telling, like what this episode looks like and how that's going to link into the others, which what they've said they're trying to do. I think it's actually worth noting, by the way, that a lot of what we're talking about in terms of critique, they kind of said they want to do that, right? In the roadmap, they said, "Oh yeah, we want to make sure that the expansion kind of leads into the next update, which then leads into the next, which then leads into the next expansion." Right? They said they want to do this, right? And the expansions are going to take you to new locations and deal with new stories that are probably going to be a bit more self-contained, right? And as a result of that, probably a bit easier to deal with in terms of like showing off exciting things for players to conquer, right? So I definitely think that it seems that that what they plan on doing in the future is perhaps, in a way, kind of what we're complaining about right now. So, obviously we know what we're talking about. I think we're, ArenaNet agrees with us. We're the experts. Fact. There it is.
From my perspective, I guess, what I'm kind of expecting from next Tuesday is just kind of like a rounding off of End of Dragons. Mm-hmm. Like, it's now a year after the release, and there's a few loose ends, and we're going on a trip with the police, Detective Rama, and just kind of hunting down, I don't know, a void boss or something to that extent, and then kind of just ending that. I don't think we're necessarily going to go into like a big build up for anything until the next expansion. Also, I have apropos expansions. Does any of you guys or anyone in chat have anywhere where they mentioned that it's like a yearly thing? Because I feel like everyone's talking about that, but I have not seen any evidence of this whatsoever.
This is part of the caginess, I guess, is that like I would have been really excited if they said yearly expansions, because we know what to expect now. But the blog post was kind of intentionally vague, and so it's kind of it's hard to tell whether they mean yearly. They said not 2 to 4 years gap between expansions, which implies to me like less than 2 years. But again, it's like very, it's a little cagey.
Well, so we can kind of guess by what they said was going to be in these kind of expansions and what like the follow-up looks like. So they basically said that you're going to get 2 maps with an expansion and then 1 map with the follow-up, right? And it's going to be quarterly updates. In my mind, I don't think they're going to be squeezing more than 3 updates out of 1 map. I think it makes sense that the way it seems to me is that it might look a little bit like this. You're going to have your expansion, 2 maps, boom. 3 months later, new map. 3 months later, then you get probably a feature thing, like you get the fractal, then 3 months after the fractal, then you get the second half of the map. 3 months later, you get the next expansion. That's
Honestly,
the way.
It just sounds like a more it just sounds like a more streamlined version of the living story cadence that we've had this whole time.
Yeah, that's
where it's like,
basically what it is.
essentially, what it boils down to is you get 3 maps in a year and you get a fractal and a feature. That's kind of what we've been. I mean,
yeah.
But you package it all into one and then just kind of spread it out over a few months, and boom, bam, you have a better business model than the living story, which, let's be honest, it doesn't apparently sell all that well.
Yeah. I think my only fear with the model, like I'm feeling quite like hyped and optimistic about this model, but my main fear is that first expansion update, I really hope that it doesn't feel like half an expansion that's been left on a cliffhanger for the following update to conclude. That's my biggest fear, that it doesn't feel like satisfying.
I think the biggest frustration that might come from that.
Oh yeah, sorry, go ahead, Joy.
No.
But they're they're probably used to the cadence of like regular expansion releases. So like we have now a couple of expansions to kind of compare to, and they are now going to sell us a smaller version of that. Like what comes after that is going to show the community whether or not that model holds up or not. Because obviously, like genuinely, I feel like after the first mini expansion or next expansion that we're getting, which is supposed to be smaller. Once that drops, I think no matter what, the community is going to be a little bit disappointed. But the one that follows that and how long time passes in between, that's going to be the determining factor whether or not we can live with this. Because if the cadence is regular and the quality is up to that standard, then it's fine. Everyone's going to be happy with that. I genuinely think that.
I think
everyone's going to be disappointed with the first one. That's 100%.
Yeah. I mean, we're in a weird spot because I feel like End of Dragons was not designed for this new model, because End of Dragons definitely concluded, and it was definitely like a full expansion. So these 2 quarterly updates that are following it, I don't know if they're like, are they gonna? Do they properly conclude the End of Dragons? Because it feels like these 2 updates, weren't designed for the model that End of Dragons laid out. Like it feels like a different sort of, they've switched this up kind of after End of Dragons.
I mean, they do talk about this a little bit. I think that the goal is that it's going to be satisfying, but it's going to be, maybe leaving you wanting a little bit more. It's going to be taking you on to the next step. It's going to be teasing you. And the final update of an expansion is going to essentially, in some sense, set up the next expansion. I don't think they're going to go like mega cliffhanger on you. I agree. Yeah, that would be pretty unsatisfying. I think. I think you could argue that potentially, in Path of Fire, you were maybe expecting to fight Kralkatorok, and you got a little bit of, you maybe got a little bit teased, right? Like, oh no, it's over. No, I don't want it to be over. Right? Like, let's go next, right? And fair enough. But in some sense, I think that making it a little bit more continuous, at least have a bit of a tether, a bit of a thread through it. I think that is important, right? Particularly with this model. But I think they'll be clever. I hope so. Listen, ArenaNet, you better not let me down. You better do something good. You better be good. That's all I'm gonna say. But yeah, no, I don't think they're gonna go unhinged and just make it like an insane cliffhanger. Because I think they're aware that will be very unsatisfying for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, how do we feel about like, this is a kind of different topic, different segue, but how do we feel about 2 strikes per year at the start of the year and then no strikes until the next expansion? Oh, I can see you dying over them. Because I think I misread the post and I thought that another strike was coming like midway through the year, kind of with the fractal, and I put that in the video and I got really hyped. But then someone corrected me and was like, no, it's just the 2 strikes in the expansion. And I'm like, ooh, 2 at the start of the year and then nothing out. They're not even like spread out throughout the year. It's literally 2 at the start of the year and then nothing until the next expansion.
So do we know when the fractal, or where the fractal fits into all of that?
Not really. I assume 6 months. See, they gave the roadmap for like the first half of this year, but the fractal was not included.
Right.
So I assume right after that roadmap in like June is when you get the fractal, like as TeaPot was saying, like 2 quarterly updates after.
Yeah. So if that's the case, if it's 2 strikes and then a fractal, I'm less despaired about it, but I'm still pretty despaired. It's pretty rough. Like,
yeah, the vibe is this is not a good vibe. Teapot, light us up.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that the biggest quote-unquote losers from the roadmap are definitely players who like squad content. Like, you know, that we can't beat about the bush here, can we? We can't.
right.
And that's absolutely true. I do think that Strike fans, Raid fans are obviously going to be disappointed and are obviously not going. They were obviously hoping for more, right? You know, I think I was expecting. You know, with every story patch, you get a strike, right? You know, you'd have a big boss in your story patch, and then that would also be a strike mission as well with a challenge mode. And yeah, this is definitely less than we were expecting and hoping for. However, I do kind of want to point out that it is more than we, I guess, get normally, right? So it's a step up in that regard. I mean, there hasn't been a raid, which is 3 bosses, right? For what, 1,400 days now? So 2 bosses a year is actually a significant step up compared to what we've actually had historically. So, you know, we have to give credit there in that regard. And look, I think we just got to talk about it. I don't think squad content is popular in Guild Wars 2. And you know, we can complain about this. We don't need to have like the whole, oh yeah, the LFG isn't great. Oh yeah, the role system is confusing. Oh yeah, getting gear is difficult. You know, we all know this, right? Everyone knows. We don't need to do this again, right? But at the end of the day, squad content just isn't that popular. And as a result of that, yeah, I think it's not surprising to see that ArenaNet is not like Omega investing in this. I think the fact that they're going for a fractal every year indicates that they go, oh yeah, a lot of people like fractals and they want to get the dungeons in there, right? Essentially dungeons, right? That translate very well from other MMOs. They want to get that in there. And also, I think it's no mistake that they called it a fractal dungeon, right? I think it's very deliberate that they use that particular wording because they want to say, hey, look, we've got dungeons in this game. Because people go, what the hell is a fractal, right? What the hell is that? I don't know what that is. It's a dungeon, right? So I think focusing on getting a lot of 5-player content out there, I think makes sense. And then getting a few strike missions in there, just, you know, so there is something there for that more extreme endgame audience. Makes a lot of sense. Obviously, I'm disappointed. I would love to see them build on this, and I really hope that they can improve things like the LFG and social features and difficulty settings, right? So that strikes become more accessible and more, you know, more appealing to players. I think a big part of it is rewards, and we can maybe talk about that actually just now, actually, because we touched on this a little bit previously, but I think it's very hard for ArenaNet to actually give compelling rewards. It's not that players actually find strikes too hard, by the way, because the norm modes are definitely pretty accessible. It's that they go, well, why would I do this? Like, what's the point of doing a strike mission unless I enjoy that type of content, right? Or I'm really, really into it. It's a lot more effort than open world, and to be frank, it's not that rewarding, right? That you get gold, but it's easy to get gold. You just farm, right? Like I think that the game really struggles to motivate players to engage in more challenging group-oriented content because it doesn't have vertical progression. It doesn't have special loads of really cool skins locked behind this content, right? And you know, you even look at the challenge modes. These are a meme, right? Like for beating, to be fair, the rifle's pretty cool from Kining Overlook CM, but you get like a butter knife, right, for doing some of these, like for completing the challenge mode, right? You know what I mean? Like, it's a tough sell. I think it's a really, really tough sell when you can get something that looks way better in the cash shop or something, or just farm your gold elsewhere. You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of
my pipe dream is that they take the Aurene variant model and add that to like a lot of the game where imagine if instead of those strike CMs giving you those like 1 items, if there was basically a weapon set and each strike CM had a different variant of that weapon set. I just think it's a good system. Yeah. And other games do it too. They just do like recolors basically of like their existing weapons with the other difficulties. And I think that would have been satisfying enough. You know,
or like some mount skins, like like it doesn't have to be like the greatest thing because like a lot of the mount skins in the cash up are great, but like give us something. Like a lot of the rewards are the same across all game modes. You make more gold from fishing. like fishing.
I mean, I can definitely admit as a casual player, I have not even tried the last 2 CMs that came out because I don't know. There wasn't really any. I mean, apart from the experience of it, but that experience for me has always been better with a static team. And when I didn't have that, well, the rewards weren't really all that interesting. So I can definitely nod in agreement to a lot of the things that you're saying here. So.
Yeah.
Like,
I think another-
HCCM, yeah, no.
I progged HGCM a while ago, and it was fun, but I'm just like, like, it's cool.
If I get it, I
but-
get it. You know, it's cool. It's cool.
Yeah, like, and that's kind of what stops me from like really pushing hard in the game, is that I don't really have a reason to, other than, you know, improving as a player, and that's always great. I love improvement as a player, like that's awesome. But like, if I'm doing, let's say, an ultimate in Final Fantasy, the rewards are really nice. Like,
I think there also needs to be some way to focus on what the new content is. So, like, if we got a strike, say hypothetically we got a strike every quarterly update, right? At some point, we've got like 26 strikes, and none of them have cycled out. We have this crazy end game
Hell yeah.
bloat where, like, and your weekly routine now is completing all 26 strikes for your weekly gold. And I think ArenaNet need to come up with some sort of system for these quarterly updates to be able to not delete that content, that old content from the game, but something like Fractals, where like there is a highlighted top 5 every single week, and they have a way of being able to like basically cycle out the old ones and bring in new ones. And even with Fractals, if they plan to add a new one every year, those older Fractals do not hold up at all. I don't know, like people probably were watching Preacher's stream of like the Fractals. The first ones he just thought were like weird, boring, like just you breeze through them. And then the like most recent 3 were excellent and like proper dungeons. And I think they need a way to basically kind of standardize that like fractal format. They need to kind of cycle out the old ones and bring in some new fractals and just kind of have just those as the fractals.
Deepstone is one of the coolest dungeons. Like, I adore that dungeon. Like in any MMO, I love that dungeon. Like the mechanics are cool. It's not like particularly difficult. Thematically, it's awesome. Like, and WoW does this thing, retail WoW, where they have like a throwback dungeon queue or whatever for like older dungeons, right? Yeah, so I mean, I could see getting something like that for strikes down the line.
Yeah, I think what they're likely to do is again kind of convert it into a bit of a system where it's like, okay, I think with strikes is a bit weird. They probably the daily system I think does this really well, right? I think eventually it will just be like a rotating system where every day you get a strike. I don't think they're going to exactly cap like, oh, you're only allowed to do 7 strikes, right, a week. I think they'll let you do all of them, but yeah, they'll use some kind of rotation system to basically keep like the freshest. Make sure that all the strikes actually see play, but without overwhelming people saying, oh yeah, you've got to do all these strikes every day. I think there's a reason why the EOD strikes aren't daily, like Icebridge Saga, right? Because if they were, it'd be, the FOMO would be insane, right? It would just like burn people ridiculously.
That is a big problem with Lost Ark. That is a huge problem with Lost Ark right now, because you're limited to 6 characters to do your raids for the week, and everybody feels obligated to do their raids for the week, and it's awful. It is so awful.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that Arena are aware of that. I think that they've kind of got this baked into the system to an extent with the way that things are going to rotate. Same with fractals, right? They add more fractals, but 3 are the daily. Like if you want to, you can grind fractals. You can do your 42 farm or whatever people are up to these days. If you want to, that's fine. You can do that, and it's profitable. But you don't have to. I'm actually very curious how they're going to handle challenge modes, because of course right now a pretty common thing that players go for is they do tier 4s plus all CMs. Eventually. That's going to be like, 6 challenge modes every day? That's kind of a lot, right? That's a big fractal blast. I'm very curious if they're just going to let you do that. To be honest, I suspect they might, because not a lot of people actually do that, right? This kind of came out with, the Mystic Coin thing. Ages ago. It just turns out that almost nobody, relatively speaking, does fractal challenge modes because, like I think it was something like 1% of the Mystic Coins in the game actually came from fractal challenge modes, and basically all of it was from, more or less all of it was from login rewards, right?
Login.
Like maybe they'll just let you do it. But I could certainly see them being a little bit concerned about that and kind of leading into these like crazy tier 4 daily sprees where you're doing tier 4 fractals and then 7 challenge mode fractals as well after that. It's like it wouldn't be that long, right? That would only be around probably 2 hours, I guess, with like a good group. But still, that's pretty meaty, right? On a daily basis for just fractals.
How do we feel about an open world challenge mode? So I only brought this up because in BDO there are world bosses, right? But there's a random chance of a world boss being like a super powered up version of it. How do we feel about? It doesn't have to be something like that, but like at a certain time where a boss would spawn, it would be a powered up version. You get more rewards.
I want that RNG to just wipe groups that are just casually walking through the world.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
I love that.
We've all died to Shadow Behemoth the first time. Like,
Yeah.
I think
Imagine
that'd be cool.
if it just choke out everyone.
Yeah, imagine if we got a powered up Shatterer and he just destroyed the whole map.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be like
that idea.
a nice little change of pace or something that like would get more people into dead maps first off, and just add more of that type of content where you can just like, oh, this is happening, might as well do it.
Yeah, there's maybe some version of this could exist. I don't think I could see them doing this in the open world, because I think the problem here would be this. What you'd find is that the community will become very divided. I feel like if that happened, all of the players who are more experienced would only do the challenge mode maps, and they do it together, right? They do it in an organized fashion. This kind of happened with Dragon's End, right? Like all of the maps that were succeeding, it was on Discord, people joining each other, talking to each other in a community, right? There was this big divide. Because I mean, on launch on End of Dragons, right? The failure rate for Dragon's End was what? Something like 90% or something absurd? Like on day one? But here's the thing. You had communities like Hardstuck with 100% win rate, never failing even once. And why was that? Well, it's because all of the players who were more experienced were on the Discord and played together. And they never joined the pug maps. So I think if you add a challenge mode system, you kind of run into this situation where the players would completely divide themselves. And I actually think that this is something that open world is awesome at, and I personally love it, is that players of all different types from all over the game come together and play with each other, right? So I think that's a great place to meet new players, to learn about the game, to share knowledge, right? To have that knowledge transfer, and to, have the communities working together instead of, being completely separate. So I think that having it in open world wouldn't be ideal. But I think that there's a universe, there's a version of it that could exist a bit like Dragonstorm, right? Where you have this instanced world boss that could be a little bit more challenging, that could be more intense. And by the way, that's not exaggeration, guys. It was on launch. I actually really want to go hard on this. People called us out for lying, but it was all done on stream. So there's no point. It was 100% win rate. Actually, just so everyone's, there are some members, for example, Will was one of the biggest commanders. He did, I believe, an 18-hour Dragon's End stream back-to-back, and he's never seen it fail. Ever. It literally, in his entire playing Guild Wars 2. Vivaloof, I believe, also one of the Metatrain leaders here, has never seen it fail. Ever. Even once. To be fair, actually, that's not true, because we did 50 healer Dragon's End. But, well, never mind that. Okay, but outside of trolling, right, he's never seen it fail. With this stuff. So just be aware of that. I actually really want to push back against this narrative that's bullshit. Almost all of the commanders at Hardstuck have never seen it fail. Just so.
I was going to say, I feel like a lighter way to do this is to just have weekly or daily achievements that are just like kill this world boss under this amount of time. And then you've got because then that's sort of like how the CMs of the strikes work. They just it's just an achievement, but you've got to do like an extra objective, and I think they could do that for open world. This is why I would love that sort of battle pass system where you've got these achievements to complete to progress it, because they could do cool stuff like that. They could just throw in a kill, kill the Shatterer within however many minutes that requires a pretty optimized group to do that in that time. And you've got people communicating and trying to group up to do that so they can progress their little battle pass thing.
Yeah, I think cool stuff like that is great. Like bonus rewards, a bit like the tier system in Dry Top or Silver Wastes, right? Where you get rewarded for kind of going that extra mile. I think stuff like that is actually cool. So a bit like the strike mission timers, right? Where if you get a gold reward if you kill it in a certain amount of time, and Whisper of Jewelmag, you can't mess about to get that, and I think that's pretty cool stuff actually. And yeah, some kind of system like that for open world could also be pretty interesting, where you you do actually have to do something in a particularly quick way, right? To do that, and not make it outrageous, but make it so that you've got to push a little bit more. Not that you fail, so I think players still succeed and get the bulk of the rewards for completing the event. But yeah, for sure, I think that kind of incentivizing players to push themselves a little bit, I think is always cool, because ultimately that will help them succeed in the game, right? Look, this is a bit of a weird meme, bit of a tangent, I guess. But at the end of the day, if you learn Guild Wars 2, that will actually help you get your goals, right? And ultimately, all players want to get something done. They want, to get the Sky Scale, to get the Griffin, or get the skin, get a Legendary. And ultimately, learning the game and the game pushing you to learn it a little bit more will actually really help you. One of the biggest predictors for being able to accomplish your goals in the game is your engagement with the game and if you understand how it works, right? Like that is how you get stuff done. So the game nudging you in that direction would certainly be pretty cool, I think. For obvious reasons, I guess.
For sure.
Yeah. Oh.
I'm gonna do triple trouble CM. I don't know if I
Boom. Ooh. Yeah. Yeah.
Kill all 3 within 3 seconds of each other.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Where are we going this, by the way? I feel like I've got lost.
We just trailed off.
Yeah,
we trailed off.
Yeah.
We're talking about expectations for the Feb 28 update. Now we're talking about, I guess, battle
now we're
passes.
talking about open world, battle passes.
stuff.
Open world, CMs.
Well, it was more like just applying a lot of what MMOs do to Guild Wars 2.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. I feel like we're in a good place to kind of maybe get some final thoughts and wrap things up. Is there anything super obvious that we've skipped over that we want to bring up? So, floor's open here. Gamers, to kind of drop a topic here that we want to talk about or go crazy? Go on before we kind of close things out?
Yeah, so, and I've made it clear before, but like, Guild Wars 2 is great, and it's okay to play more than one MMO. Like, it's like, MMOs are great. Like, we don't want Guild Wars 2 to be the only MMO, because then Guild Wars 2 won't be the only MMO. Like, that would suck, actually. We want MMOs to do well, because the better the MMO genre does, the better your favorite MMO will do. So, yeah, like, just play video games is great. Like, Guild Wars 2 is fantastic. I love the game. As much as we criticize it, like, Guild Wars 2 is a fantastic MMO. Let's be real. This is why we play it. So, yeah, we just want the game to succeed.
I think it's important to note that the game is increasing in popularity, as ArenaNet have clarified. So despite all these issues, I think the game is doing fine, and it's probably going to do even better after this, these quarterly updates, and we'll see how it goes. I guess, fingers crossed.
Yeah, I guess my takeaway from all of this is also it seems like we're just kind of nitpicking on some of the issues that are missing here. So I mean, it feels like home, man.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah, in that case, I think that's a good place to wrap things up. But I think this was a really super interesting discussion. I hope everyone enjoyed it. Thank you very much to my wonderful guests for hopping on here. And it's that time of the show where we learn a little bit more about, what the hell's going on with these gamers and what we can expect down the line. And I think this one will. I'm not sure what answer I'm going to get here. But DeRoir, are you thinking of maybe doing a little bit of content in Guild Wars 2, maybe hopping on a few more TeaTimes and podcasts back on YouTube, Mind Spike, see you in the mists, right? Like, what are we, what's going on there? Maybe? HTCM,
I mean,
yeah.
I mean, I've really, really enjoyed being back on TeaTime. I love chatting with you guys, and I love just kind of like dipping my toes into the community again. Yeah, I don't know. I'm casually just kind of playing the game. I don't feel like I would be streaming that. I will definitely be playing all the updates, and I'm here for a long while. I don't have any intentions of skipping out or missing out on any of the expansions and all the cool stuff that's coming. Honestly, it just kind of sounds great. So yeah, I don't know. Don't expect any more Guild Wars 2 content necessarily from me, unless it just kind of like comes out of nowhere. I don't know. But then again, I am looking for a new job, so hey, let's go. Might be time to regress here.
Yeah. Okay, and yeah, be sure to check out that. You might as well follow Deroir. I mean, why not, guys? Get on the YouTube, get on the Twitch, get on the Twitter. If you subscribe, he can probably afford a microphone, so we can actually hear him in high definition for the next time we're here on TeaTime. That would be fantastic.
I'm sorry about that.
Yeah.
Just for all the audience, I recently I moved and I don't have all of my shit with me, and people just kind of like reached out of nowhere, and I was like, let's go. So yeah, I'm sorry. This is just kind of a yeah.
Okay, and next up, okay, it is Lowry. MMORPG. OPG. What the hell is that?
OPG.
What is that?
Overpowered games.
Overpowered playing game. I like that. That's good. That's a new genre. We made a brand new genre here. But let us know where we can find you and what you are doing these days. Take it away.
So, you can find me on mmorpg.com /V2Lowry. You can find all of my content there. I just write about whatever they give me so much freedom on what to write about. Like, it's actually a problem. But yeah, I play pretty much, I've probably played any MMO you can think of. Currently playing Guild Wars 2, not as much as I used to, but yeah, you can just find me writing a whole bunch of content. I'm going to have a really inflammatory piece next week on a certain shooter game where you need to escape from a certain place called Tarkov. It's going to be very inflammatory, but yeah, catch my content there. And yeah.
Okay, stay tuned for that. We've got we're getting teased there. People are going to get excited for that stuff. And we also have getting up at the break of dawn to come and doom about Guild Wars 2. This man has got his priorities straight. It is Bloom.
Hello, I'm Bloom. I realize I'm looking very dark because the sun has risen up behind me and I am fully in shadow. The lighting has changed throughout this entire TeaTime just because I got up at the break of dawn. I do Guild Wars 2 videos on YouTube for like the semi-casual audience or people coming from other MMOs trying to make Guild Wars 2 a bit more approachable. That's it. I'm on YouTube and Twitter as Bloom. So if you want to check that out, then feel free to do so. I will be playing the patch and I'll probably have a review of the patch when a week probably after it comes out. Probably 2. I'm usually late with videos, but there you go.
Okay, we love to see it. And of course, you can check out all these wonderful guests here with the ! host command. It will be below the stream and, of course, below the YouTube video. So definitely check all that stuff out. I mean, if you're not excited, then honestly, you're probably dead, right? Okay, because, you've got to feel the energy with that. It's pretty big stuff. But anyway, of course, you can make sure to see more TeaTimes and more content like this by following this stream, subscribing on YouTube, and definitely let us know what you think, right? I think this has been super interesting. We've got some fresh perspectives, some fresh gaming here. Massive thank you to all of my hosts for joining me today. It was an awesome show, in my opinion. Yes, YouTube friends, let us know what you think. Let's get some discussion going. As always, join on my Discord to discuss the TeaTime. Join in the YouTube comments. Join on Twitter. I don't know, join everywhere to talk about Guild Wars 2, because that's what we're here for. We're here to get some conversations going and talk about the game that we are all highly interested in. So that's going to be just about it for today, my friends. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time on TeaTime. I'll probably be back here on stream, so make sure for the dark TeaTime after show to always hop on board the stream and follow that. But until next time, my friends, thanks for watching, and we will see you all next time. Goodbye, gamers.